How to use reproducibility enhancing modules in Requal. In this tutorial, we will show the modules that enhance the reproducibility of the coding included in Requal. They are all on the report screen. In the first tab we can see a numerical overview of the codings. We can choose which coders, codes and documents to include in the report. Click on Calculate to get a table with the number of codes for each document. We can see that 2 codes were used in only one document. The research code was used a total of 17 times, the education code 15 times. When we want to find out the use of a code by a particular user, we select that user from the list in the top menu. After recalculating, we see that Babichka used both codes 8 times. Let's look at Martin's coding. He coded 4 times research and only 2 times education. If we had multiple documents coded, we could do separate reports for each of them. In the Agreement tab we can see more detailed information about the coding. Requal allows you to see the relative overlap in the coding of different users. The total character overlap means how many characters have been coded the same by different users. In the table below, we see that the overlap was 1/3 the total number of 7,737 characters, encoded by the 3 users. Another metric is to monitor overlap regardless of the number of characters, where we consider any overlap. And immediately we see that the agreement between users doubled when the number of coded segments was 33. To verify that the calculations only apply to Babichka, Lisa and Martin, we unmark the other users. The result is the same. We may also be interested in which coders code similarly and which ones disagree. This is done by calculating overlap by coder and code. The result is a heat map that shows the degree of agreement between users. We can see that for the education code, Martin matches Babichka less than Lisa. The lighter the color, the higher the match. In the case of the research code, the overall match is higher when we compare the color of, for example, again matching Martin and Babichka. On the other hand, the match of Lisa and Babichka is the same for both codes. Martin and Lisa also match more in the research code than in the education code. To examine the coding overlay in even more detail, enter the Browse Coded Docs tab. In the menu, select which document you want to view and which code. Clicking the Browse button will give us a graphical display of the individual user overlaps for that code and document. The lighter the color, the higher the match between users. When we hover the mouse over a highlighted segment, the names of the users who coded it will be shown. This provides a good basis for a team discussion about coding. For example, how long segments to code or how salient instances of a phenomenon to code. The agreement for code education is lower than for research and we can see where users disagree. On the User Attributes tab, we can define specific user attributes and then check if they have any effect on the coding. In this project, we want to track the age, role in the team and gender of the users. You can specify other attributes and other values in your project. Each user will then fill in their attributes in their profile. In the pie charts, we can see the distribution of attributes in the user pool of the project. If we go back to the Intercoder Agreement Calculation tab and select Overlap by User Attribute from the menu, we can see a table with the average overlaps for each group of users sharing the same attribute. For example, in the case of gender, we see that female users show a higher degree of agreement than across gender. This means that the gender of the user may have an impact on the coding, and it would be good to take this into account when coding. The last tab on the report screen is Log. It records all activity of all Requal users. We can thus see how the coding was done. For example, we can filter the activity of one user or a certain type of activity. Filtering can also be combined. We can even search the log for a specific event, for example a specific segment, and see when and by whom it was created and when and by whom it was deleted.